Hello students, Assalamu alaikum. Hope you all are doing well and I'm also doing very well. And this is your English teacher Tanya Ahmed. Today this is our English language class, and as you can see on the board clearly, today our topic is completing sentence. And in our exam we will have to solve an exercise which will contain 5 marks, and there you will be given 5 incomplete sentences, and those sentences you have to complete according to tense, person, number, that means subject, verb, agreement, and right forms of verbs. And sometimes you will have to identify the clues, because those sentences may be simple or complex or compound. So there you may be given some subordinating conjunctions or coordinating conjunctions. So let's see how we can identify the clues, and according to the rules how we will complete the sentences. Let's start with rule number 1, and here the clue will be a relative pronoun. Now, do we know which are the relative pronouns? Of course we do. Who, which, that, what, whose, whom. These are some examples of relative pronoun. When these relative pronouns come at the end of the incomplete sentence, the verb of the next clause will be according to the number and person of the antecedent. Now, do we know which is an antecedent? Actually, antecedent is a noun or pronoun which takes its place just before the relative pronoun. Here, I is the antecedent. It has taken its place just before the relative pronoun who. In the next sentence, you see it's again who, and in the third sentence, there is which. And here, can you tell me which is the antecedent? Yes, you're right. Here, the antecedent is a pet duck. Okay, now let's see how to complete the sentences. In the exam, you'll be given it is I who, and then it will be a blank. Now, what verb should we use here? Here, the verb should be according to the antecedent. So, you cannot use who is to blame, which many students make mistake. But here it will be am. It is I who am to blame. In the second example, you see, I know the boy who. Here we cannot use have, because the antecedent here is the boy, third person singular number. So you have to use has. Who has stood first? In the third sentence, I have a pet dog which. Here again, the verb will be according to the antecedent. I have a pet dog which likes meat. Now comes rule number 2, and in this case, our clue may be so that or in order that. That means so that or in order that will appear at the end of the first clause. So in that case, we have to use may or might, can or could before the main verb according to the tense of the previous clause. Let's see an example. Shetu studies hard. So that you see the incomplete sentence, at the incomplete sentence there is so that, or here in order that can also be used. Now after that, she can or could. Of course, here the tense is present tense, and that's why it will be can, so that she can pass in the exam. But if it was in the past tense, for example, Shetu studied hard so that she can or could. Of course, could, because studied in the past tense. So it will be she could pass in the exam, or she could stand first in the exam. Let's another example. The farmer worked hard so that, or in order that, they might or may. Of course, might, because here the verb of the first clause is in the past tense. So here it will be they might get a good harvest. Now let's see rule number 3. If the main clause, if the structure of the main clause is subject plus verb plus so plus adjective, then we have to use that plus subject plus cannot or could not plus verb plus extension. Why cannot or could not? These cannot or could not will be used according to the tense. Now let's see some examples. He is so weak that he cannot walk. Why not could not? Because the first clause, the main clause, is in the present tense. If it was like this, he was so weak, then we have to write that he could not walk. For another example, she was so dull that she cannot or could not. Of course, could not, because in the main clause the verb is in the past tense, that she could not understand the sun. Next comes rule number 4. Here the clue may be provided, provided that, or providing that. Actually these three main if, like, and it works like conditionals. Okay, so in the first example, you see, you will get vitamins provided that. The provided that also means if. It works like if. You'll get vitamins provided that you eat vegetables. It works like what? 0 conditional. We have recently solved conditional sentences. And in the second example, you see, he will succeed in life provided or provided that, then what will it be? He works hard. Next comes rule number 5. If the subordinate clause of the complex sentence starts with though, the main clause will be opposite in meaning. So if the subordinating conjunction in a complex sentence, though, is a subordinating conjunction, then the main clause will be opposite. For example, you see, though he worked hard, he could not succeed in life. You see, these are opposite in meaning, and as this is in the past tense, here you see could has been used. He could not succeed in life. And in the second example, although I am good at English, I am weak in mathematics. You see, in both the cases, the tense is in the present tense, and these two are quite opposite in meaning. Next comes rule number 6. If you see lest in the incomplete sentence, then in the next clause you have to use should before the verb, and those verbs will be in the negative. For example, walk first, then you see it is lest. So walk first, lest, then you have to use should after the subject. You should, and of course negative verb, that is miss the class. For another example, read attentively lest you should fail in the exam. Again, this word is a negative word. So when there is list, you have to use should before the verb in the next clause. Now let's see rule number 7. Here the clue is since. If since is used as subordinating conjunction of a complex sentence, then if the tense of the main clause is simple present or present perfect tense, then after since or the subordinate clause will be in the simple past tense. Now let's see an example. It is 10 years. This is the main clause. This is the main clause, and here the tense is simple present tense. Okay? It is 10 years, and the subordinating conjunction is since. And after since, the clause will be in the simple past tense. That is, since we met. But this is very important, and you have to notice that if the tense of the main clause is in the simple past tense or past perfect tense, then the subordinating clause will be in the past perfect tense. Now let's see the example. It was 10 years. That means it is in the simple past tense. It was 10 years since we, then it will be in the past perfect tense. That means had plus V3. That will be since we had met. Next comes rule number 8, and here the clue is it is time or it is high time. Then what does it mean? It means the perfect time for this action is already gone. So what will be the tense of the clause here? Of course, it will be in the simple past tense because it means the time is already gone. Let's see an example. It is high time, or we can also say it is time. It is high time the government took or take. Of course, took. It will be in the simple past tense. The government took steps against corruption. Let's see another example. It is time we changed our habits. Here, simple past tense of the verb change has been used. So, it's clear that it is time or it is high time. In this type of sentences, we have to use simple past tense in the next clause. And I think you've already got a clear picture of these first 8 rules of completing sentences. And I'll be back again in the next video with some more rules of completing sentence. Until then, bye bye. Thank you very much.